Hi everyone, this is Mike. Thanks for tuning in today with a special guest. I'm starting a little interview series right now, and I wanted to talk to that guy already for quite some time now. I'm really happy and honored to have Justin as a guest today from the famous channel 65 Drums. So, Justin, thanks for tuning in and joining.
It, Thanks for having me on.
Cool. So for everyone of my subscribers, I probably don't think that anyone doesn't know Justin, but in case that's the case, Justin, maybe just like briefly introduce yourself, who you are, where you come from, what your channel is all about. Just a brief introduction of yourself.
Hey, I'm Justin from 65 Drums. So I have a channel about electronic drum news reviews and tutorials, and also going into some hybrid drums, how to incorporate electronics into acoustic drums. So that's basically what I cover. I try to just review and cover as many aspects of the world of electronic drums as possible to make it like sort of an encyclopedia for electronic drummers. If you have any question about anything, I've probably made a video about it.
Cool. It's just like almost too modest and too humble now. You almost have 70,000 subscribers. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's been a pretty nice year. People have been really interested in the different topics, and I'm always trying to chase what people want to watch, and people seem to have been liking the channel recently, so that's great.
As far as I know, you are like almost the only channel that covers that topic and that kind of like area and that depth and that. I mean, there are some that talk about electronic drums. We both know our good friend Marcel running V Drum Tips. I think he
Yeah,
discontinued his channel, but you are the only one that's really like talking seriously about that topic. So my question would be, when
there's also
exactly?
eDrum Workshop too, but yeah, not many channels all through the years that have done this, unfortunately.
Yeah. So my question would be then, like, when did you start with that channel, and what was kind of like the motivation behind? Was it like happening on purpose, or did you kind of like start a channel doing some music drum covers, what we all do, and then you thought, hey, man, this is a topic that people want to hear about?
So I started off doing drum covers. So the problem was that back in around 2013, when I first started doing drum covers, YouTube was throwing around a lot of copyright strikes because YouTube had to do a lot of negotiation with the big record labels. And it was a very tenuous situation for a very long time. And not many people could get away with doing drum covers with copyrighted music for a long time. That has since been unrestricted, and I could just do drum covers again. But in the meantime, I was like, you know what? I want to be able to make videos on YouTube. And I know there's a lot of people making phone reviews, computer reviews, and I really like watching that kind of thing. What if I could create a YouTube channel about electronic drums, like covering, reviewing it from all the different angles? I was inspired a little bit by like there was a blog called Hellfire Electronic Drums that I used to read a lot when researching my first electronic set. V Drum Tips started a little bit quicker than I did, so I was also inspired by his channel as well. He made really excellent videos right from the very beginning, and so it kind of just sort of metamorphosed into what I do now.
Cool. Um, so how long did you do you run it right now? It's like 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, something like that, when I remember
Uh,
correctly.
it's if you count every video I've ever done, it's probably 6 to 7 years.
Oh gosh, that's a lot.
So
It's
yeah, it is. I've made a lot of videos, hundreds and hundreds of them.
yeah. I mean, right now for everyone watching this video right now, I highly recommend going to Justin to 65 Drums to subscribe to his channel. Regular updates, cool stuff. He's really covering like the whole range of electronic drums, like really from the new products, reviewing, and one thing I have to say, what I really always appreciate about your channel is you were always super honest and straight about products. It's just like no of the guys like kind of like you're not a fanboy of any brand. Like if something was like crap, you name it like that. It's like, I mean, honestly, it's
Thanks.
like you
It's
you know
hard.
a lot of YouTubers that kind of like sometimes like they're not really honest about some products because maybe they get sponsored and all that stuff. But I always felt like, okay, if there's a new product coming out, you are still my go-to source number one. Like, even though I don't play electronic drums anymore right now, but like this year at NAMM, I think when Roland brought out like the new drum line with the real size shells, I knew like, okay, let's wait for Justin for his first look on that. I mean, honestly, that's like, so what's your call on that? Like, was it like something that you always wanted to give like an honest opinion about stuff?
Uh, I've really struggled with how to approach doing reviews. I've thought about it for a very long time throughout the history of the channel because there's so many ways to tackle it. There are some people that only review things that they have actually enjoyed, which is definitely a strategy that I don't knock because, you know, it hurts, and also you kind of sever ties with companies if you review something that is obviously bad and you have to say so in a video. So there's always that risk. And then other people lean more towards just cut and dry. This is what I like and don't like about it. And that's what I try to lean towards. I try to take the emotion out of it a little bit and just try to say, I try to just take it in the pros and cons type of category. This is what it's good at. This is what it's bad at. You decide whether or not the drum set's for you. I can't make the decision for you, but I can sort of give you an analytical breakdown of it without becoming a fanboy. That's what I'm trying to avoid. Because that's one thing people used to call me that, and I realized I had to readjust how I talked about certain brands, never making broad sweeping statements like all drum sets from this company are bad, all drum sets from this company are good. That's something that people like to say in comments, but you can't get away with that if you're trying to make legitimate unbiased reviews.
I mean,
So I just try to look at
that's true anyway, right? I mean, is that you cannot tell like for any brand around the world, like everything, like Apple and Windows. We're gonna talk about this in a sec. It's like
yeah.
I know there are like this fanboy things going on the internet, and people like when you go to Twitter and all that stuff. Like sometimes I have the feeling there's just like black and white, so there's no.
They've already decided before it
Yeah,
even comes out.
exactly. So, um, let's start with a like we talked about like running this channel like for 5-6 years. You tested probably every single drum, not everyone, but like the majority of drum kits and brands that are on planet Earth right now.
Tried. There are
Tried.
a few that aren't in the United States. Like one big one is Millennium, but I think Medeli makes that. So I've even if I haven't tried a certain brand, usually I've tried something by the original manufacturer that makes them for other companies.
Cool. So, but just like as a start into the topic, it's like, how is your look on like eDrum technology as by now? Like, what would you say, like, how we are right now when you look maybe in comparison to 6 years ago when we started? So, what's your view
Right.
on like the whole genre right now?
Well, I feel like it's easy to be pessimistic sometimes about electronic drums. In the same way you can be pessimistic about how phones aren't getting any better. But the thing is, we look at it from 6 months to 6 months or year to year. But when you jump back 5 years, a drum set from back then versus now, the average cheaper drum sets are rapidly getting better. The premium
Yeah,
segment isn't really advancing as fast because they're starting to hit like peaks. Like some of the drum modules need to sound better. That's one thing they haven't nailed. But a lot of the pads and stuff, they're starting to hit little plateaus. But on the consumer side of things, where the average person has $1,000 or something like that, those $1,000 to $1,500 drum sets are rapidly getting better. Like it used to be, you couldn't buy a mesh drum set for $500 or $700.
that's right.
It did not exist. Everyone forgets about this. But if you had $700 when I was first looking into electronic drums, you would buy Yamaha DTX Explorer, and that was like I think that was $800. It was all rubber pads, had the triangle cymbal pads, and that really wasn't that long ago. So I think things are getting better. I wish they'd get better faster, but I'm optimistic on how things are going.
Like, that's interesting to hear, because sometimes when you are into a topic, just like you said, it's like you always want more and more and more because now you experience like the TD50 and TD30 like with the big shells, and you convert it in acoustic drums just like I did. So of course
Yeah,
we're a little bit spoiled maybe over time, but we shouldn't forget like there are the majority of people out there, and you mentioned that price range between like 800 to $1,500, something like that.
yeah,
That's usually, and that's a huge investment. Like, don't get us wrong, people. It's like that's a serious
yeah.
amount of money to spend on a musical instrument, you know. By the way, I just like what I've really found interesting just today in the preparation of this interview is that I saw one video that you did some weeks ago, like kind of like the hidden costs when buying an electronic drum set. That was
Oh,
super
yeah.
interesting and helpful because like I remember that it was exactly what I stepped into when I bought my first electronic drum set. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I need a stool and I need a hi-hat stand and I need this and that. So we sometimes, what I wanted to say is like we sometimes forget like that we talk about TD50, TD30, we talk about 5,000, 7,000 grand, all that
Right.
stuff, you know? But sometimes like when you are 18 years old, 19 years old, still live at home, maybe you just like started your first job, you know, you cannot spend $3,000 on an electronic drum set.
And even if you go further down in price than that, parents will email me sometimes or whatever, and they'll ask, "What can I get for $500?" And I have to be careful because I can say, "Well, you can buy this drum set," but now your entire budget is wiped out, and you can't buy a pedal to use with it. You can't buy sticks. You can't buy the headphones. People somehow think that speakers are built into electronic drums.
Yeah.
I've only found one brand that does that, and sometimes people forget the thing is, electronic drums are a hobby, and so are acoustic drums.
Yeah.
Music is a hobby like anything else. When you jump into a hobby for the first time, from the surface, it looks like there's really not that much. You buy the one big component to the hobby, but you forget that there's a lot of things supporting that make it the way it is. And you're always surprised, no matter what the new hobby is, by how much money you have to invest. If you were building a computer, you got to buy the screen, you got to buy
Yeah.
the keyboard, the mouse. It's like that with everything, unfortunately.
But isn't that sad? Because
It
I
is.
think like the image of electronic drums is exactly determined maybe because of that. Like people, they still have this picture of electronic drums in their head, like those, as you described, like the triangle rubber pads from Yamaha and like the
Yes.
rubber pads and like all the, I mean, I play acoustic drums and I play them as well, just like you. Like when you don't know what's possible nowadays. And just as a side note, you still have to invest serious amount of money to get like the real deal, you know,
Yeah,
hooking up
unfortunately.
Drum Tech Pro with TD50 and Superior Drummer and a MacBook. Like we talk about 10,000 or something.
There's a
So,
time investment too.
and it's a time investment, but it's like still sad because that people, when what you just described, like they spend $500-600 on something, and then they find out, okay, I need this, I need that, and this is like exactly all those drum sets you find online on eBay when people like sell the stuff again, you know, because like, yeah, I'm just like get tired of all this stuff, it doesn't work for me, and
Right.
yeah,
And also, uh, a lot of electronic drums over the years have been very well built. So a Roland or Yamaha drum set, especially from the late 90s,
hmm,
still works.
yes,
And so the average drummer who hasn't tried the latest and greatest from ATV, Drum Tech, Field, or whoever, they're running across in a dusty closet somewhere a TD8 or a DTS Explorer, and that's their image. They run across more of those than they do some of the nicer stuff because that's harder to get to. It's $3,000.
so let's check if you like just agree. What I see, if you agree, what I see currently is like this clear direction. What you and I and Marcel and some other guys we know, like in our little filter bubble online, started some
Yeah,
years ago with converting all that stuff. But this is, for me at least, obviously something that the companies start to understand. You know, it's like there's Jobiki around, they've
yeah,
been around for years, and drum tech, but more and more companies start to understand that drummers, musicians want like bigger sizes in general,
right.
like 18-inch ride cymbals, 20-inch at least kick drums and all that stuff. What's your call on that?
I feel like companies have been very hard-headed about this because it was obvious to us, at least,
Yeah.
that people wanted larger sizes. That's why the Alesis DM10 line, which was not, I know some people like that line of drums, but I don't think it was very well built. There's a
Mhm.
lot of iterations of it. But people bought it purely based on getting a 12-inch snare.
Yes.
That was, you know what I mean? So people were running after this stuff and they were throwing their money away because, it's not the best experience over a long period of time. And people were doing that just because it was a big drum set. But I feel like the shift has happened because ATV, I think they kind of woke up Roland to the fact that people like larger electronic drums when people leave your own company and start another one just to create big drums. So
Exactly.
that must have been a wake up call. They sort of dipped their toe in the water by making a big kick drum. And they were surprised. I talked to them about it. They were surprised at how well it sold from what I can tell. And then they started pushing and figuring out. And the thing is, when a company notices a trend, what a lot of drummers don't realize is that they can't just make something that next summer. These big companies, in order to get the cost down, and also manufacturing is hard. It's not like someone just throwing something together in their basement like what I would try to do.
Sure.
These companies take three years to make a new drum set line. And it takes a lot of money, hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions of dollars to create really nice drum modules. So it's a whole thing. So when we see a trend, it will be 3 years before the big companies that aren't as nimble to be able to jump on that, and then you'll see what everyone else saw a long time ago.
Just make me a little bit brighter here.
Gotta love
like
lights.
the old acoustic mixing engineer joke, like makes a little bit brighter in the EQ. So we talked about, like, now let's go from, let's say, the companies and the brands and the products to the audience. You will probably better know than I do, but it goes for my channel as well. When you talk and you have a channel about technology, I mean, one of my most viewed videos still is this: how to set up a hi-hat correctly on Superior Drummer 3, you know?
I've emailed people that link so many times.
Really?
Yes.
Even TuneTrack does, which surprises me, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
really, they do. So no,
yeah,
what I wanted to say,
people email me and say, my hi-hat doesn't work, how do I fix it, you know, with Superior Drummer, and I just immediately email them that link.
That's nice. Thank you very much. But it's like, it shows me, and this is, of course, goes to electronic drums. It is complex, hands down. Let's be honest. It's really, it's not nothing that you can just like switch on and then it work. I mean, of course it should work, just like, but if you really have the full experience, you know, you have to think about and really like dig into that stuff and reading the manuals and all that stuff.
The time investment.
Yeah, exactly. So, but talking about the audience, or like the people, like when you look at all the questions you got, I mean, we talked about this, parents writing you, what's the best investment for, I mean, I get this, I know those questions, like what's the best XYZ for $200, for $500? I mean, I get the idea of people asking that question, but looking at the last 5-6 years running that channel, do you see any difference in your audience in terms of like, have the questions changed over time? Like people knowing more about the stuff now than they did before?
Yes, I would say that at least the followers of 65 Drums, there's, you know, there's the people that are really into the channel, and the other people that watch when there's a big important video, like the VAD drum sets being announced. And then when I have more topical things like Super Bowl, like how people use drums in the Super Bowl, or how Rick Allen uses electronic drums, that reaches an even broader audience that never watches my channel. But when it comes to the core audience, because I've been making hundreds of videos, they know a lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're like, this is a nice recap on what I knew before. So people, I am seeing that people know more about electronic drums, and at the risk of repeating myself sometimes. As far as questions, one really common question that I get is compatibility questions. People keep asking me questions about if a certain cymbal or a certain drum works with the drum set, which makes me see that a lot of people are buying a stock drum set and trying to get the most out of it by upgrading different things instead of just throwing it away and buying a new thing, which I think is great. I think a lot of times people will just pull the trigger on a new $2,000 drum set without first trying to figure out if they can get their current set where it needs to be just by spending a quarter of that amount of money. So I really like that kind of question, because I like where it's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, but I totally get it. Like, just like sharing my experience on my channel, it's like I get similar questions, like people asking me, can I use that interface with using Easy Drummer, or do you know if my if my Elise's drum module and my whatever cymbal works with the Superior Drummer and all that stuff? But
it can get frustrating, can it?
Yeah, but I mean, I get the point where they come from. Sometimes, of course, you tend to like say, come on, that's an easy information you can easily find online. But I mean, I know that people, this is a compliment because they obviously rely on you and my opinion and trust you. Exactly. So I always try to really answer every single email. My channel is obviously smaller than yours, so I still have the time to answer everything. But I see where it gets from, you know. This would be like one of my next questions anyways, like if you would describe then maybe this sounds unfair, but is there like a typical e-drummer nowadays that you would describe? Is it like the typical 19-year-old guy that just like wants to jam at home, or is it even the kid, maybe 12 years old, like jamming in the apartment, or is it just like Marcel, our friend from V-Drum Tips, like always used to make the joke like that he always climbed me like the typical e-drum guy, that he annoyed him like a guy 40 plus something now finally has the financial situation that he can afford all that stuff. This is the
Yeah.
typical e-drummer. So what's your call on that?
Well, I can give you the analytics that YouTube gives me.
Yeah.
According to YouTube, 94% of them are male. So that it's mostly guys watching my channel. And then the average viewer is 18 to 44. So those are the people that are actively watching 65 drums. I see them as splitting up in a few different camps. You have the guy that he wants to play acoustic drums so bad, but he's finally admitted defeat. He knows that he can't do it because he lives in his apartment. So he's like, well, if I'm going to play, I might as well get something good. So he buys an electronic drum set. He's in his 20s or 30s. And then there's another camp of people that, like Marcel was talking about, people 40 plus. Maybe they don't have a pension coming in yet, but they've gotten to a point in their career where dropping $4,000 isn't really that big of a stretch.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's a lot of money. But here's the thing: people are buying Corvettes and stuff when they reach that point in their career. Even if you get the most expensive electronic drum setup and you buy a whole studio worth of stuff, that is drastically cheaper than, you know, the car that you buy when you hit that point in your career.
Exactly.
So, you know what I mean? And that's not even a nice car compared to what you could get. So drums actually, if you think about it that way, are a cheaper hobby when it comes down to it. But yeah, there's the people that buy them because they have to. And then there's the people that are really, really into it and they have the money to invest. And then there are people that just want something as a dedicated home practice thing, and they play their acoustic set on the road or in the studio. But they need something. They don't need to go crazy. They don't need to spend $2,000. They just want something simple. Maybe they can do a little MIDI recording, you know, client work. They just want something to practice and be able to do some things, but they don't need to have a Rolls Royce of electronic drums at home. So those are a couple of people I can think of off the top of my head.
That's interesting to hear because when I was at DrumTech here in Germany, on their in their stores, they actually run like two different stores here in Germany where you can actually drive into and not drive into.
I'd love to go there sometime.
Amazing. It's just really, it's awesome. So I made a video when I just when I drove there to buy a TD30 drum module, and I spent some time with the owner and talked with him exactly about that, and saying like, they not only sell their own stuff, the DrumTech stuff, you can just buy a TD17 drum kit, you know. And I asked him about like what's a typical client, and he said like exactly that. It's like sometimes he feels like either it's really like the entry level stuff, like parents come in with their 19-year-old, like he wants to jam at home, and we have 1,200, so give me the best for my money, or it's really like the guy, and it's usually guys coming in saying like, I don't care about money at all. Like, give me the best you can offer. And then they spend 10,000 plus, you know, on like DrumTech Pro S-Line, like the really high-end stuff with the TD50 and a bunch of cymbals. And then they buy a new Mac and Superior Drummer and an interface. And just like, and it's like crazy because when you sum it up, it's like $14,000-15,000 in the end.
If you go all out.
If you ever, you know, exactly. So that's obviously that's something like really like the high-end stuff. But my approach was always, and this is what I tell my subscribers when they ask me about what interface should they, or what module they should get. And I always say like, you should aim for the best, even though you know you can't afford this, but check out what makes the best the best. Like, is it really which kind of like options a module does have? Do you still need it? Like, and then kind of like try to go down and delete all the stuff that you really don't need. And then you sometimes come up, maybe a used TD12 or TD20 module from Roland is a better investment for you than a new, you know what I mean? Because positional sensing makes more sense and having more inputs on the module than the latest sounds, which you don't need to use anyway because you want to run Steven Slate drums or Easy Drummer.
Right. Oh, another average customer that I forgot to mention is a venue of some kind. So I see two
Yeah,
big ones, at least for my audience. It's either going to be a church or it's going to be a studio. So on the studio side of things, they need to have something that's there so people can lay down tracks and stuff. And sometimes they care about it looking impressive and stuff. And other times they just want it to be accurate and just work. And that's all they need. And then as far as the venue side of things, whether or not it's a bar that needs a house kit or if it's a church, usually I'm trying to point them towards a bulletproof kit that can just take abuse, because you know it's going to be there for years and years, and there's going to be everybody sitting down and playing on this thing. So that's one other kind of electronic drummer that buys stuff, and they're serious because it's either their money and they're spending their money, or it's an organization's money and they got to tell someone else why they just spent $3,000.
Exactly.
So they're kind of nervous. I've gotten phone calls like, "Are you sure this is the right one?" I'm like, got to make sure that it holds up.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, it's great to see that more and more, especially I mean, we don't have this this culture of like warships like you have in US.
Yeah.
Here it's still like old white hair, gray man, just like doing some prayers and thought of it. I would love to have more like this musical approach to worships. I think that, but that's another topic. So
every country's different.
Exactly. So what I'm really interested is that we talked about Roland, Yamaha, all this stuff, and I know you mentioned this topic quite a lot in your channel. It's like Roland is really probably still the market leader when it comes, for good reasons, like the cymbals, and that's what I always recommend when people are asking me what's the best hi-hat I could use for, in my case, when they ask me to trigger Superior Drummer. And I know there are a lot of great options out there, but I know it's like, get the VH12 or 11 or 13, because from my experience,
for hi-hat,
for the hi-hat, for instance, like, because from my experience, like, I just know they still work, even if you get a used one 7 years. However, there's a flip side to the coin, the costs of Roland. So, and I know you criticize them a lot for them. But so what's your thought on Roland's like policy of their pricing and their products?
Well, my thoughts on it are kind of complicated, because Roland was the market leader for a very long time for several reasons. They were making the absolute best stuff. Yamaha made some good stuff, but Roland, to me, always seemed to have an edge in one way or another.
Yeah.
And so it came down to them making the best stuff. And also, they have an amazing team of lawyers that kept any other company from doing certain things, like mesh heads. There's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes behind that. But the thing is, a lot of those patents are falling away, and other companies, regardless of patents, are just better now. You know, the other companies are just creating better products than they used to, and there's new companies. Just overall, it's much more competitive, which is good. I love Roland. They're a really good company, but you never want to get into the whole one company is the only good choice to choose from. That's always bad for an industry. So it's actually great that Roland has other companies to bounce off of. They see what's working, they try something a little bit different. And what I think right now is that Roland came out strong with the TD17 line because there was no good options in that price range. I know some people think there are some good options compared to the TD17, but from $1,000 to $1,700, to me, there's nothing good there until the TD17 showed up. And then with the TD27, that's a little bit more opinion-based, because some people don't like the sounds. But if you're going to use software, the TD27 line is really good.
Yeah.
Elise has struggled a lot with the Strike line because of faulty manufacturing problems. They've fixed a lot of those issues. The SE is really, really good now, is giving Roland a big run for their money in that price range, but they don't have the track record yet. One thing when people ask me questions is, okay, it's great that a certain company is having an awesome year. Okay. This year, all of a sudden there's a new shiny drum set from a company over here. But what company has been good for 5 years or 20 years? So that's, some people want a track record. Other people just want to see that at this current time, this drum set is the best for this price range. So there's almost like two mentalities of different kinds of buyers that are shopping for things. You see this in the car market, bicycles, whatever, phones and computers.
Yes, sure. I mean, it's like I always often complained about prices of Roland, but sometimes I took advantage out of that when I sold some stuff. You know, it's like when you sell
goes in the circle.
Exactly. I mean, it's like, but honestly, it you always find stuff from Roland. If you just like, if you need just maybe add a little splash, so you're looking for a CY8 or something like that, it's
Yeah.
just no problem to find someone offering that on eBay.
Right.
You get a lot of support still. You find a lot of information online about the product. That's obviously the advantage.
Software updates too.
Exactly.
Like for example, my TD30, like there was a software update a while ago that added support for triggers that came out after the TD30 was first manufactured. Alesis is also well known for doing a lot of support after the fact now. They've become better at that. But it's always nice when a company doesn't abandon a product. That's one thing that I look for. I want to know that the company still cares and that they didn't just take your money and run.
So you played what I never did, just one time. You played the Pearl Mimic Pro. I think when this beast came out, I thought, I mean, finally someone got the idea right, like of combining two worlds. What I would love to see more people do. And so, what's your thoughts on the Pearl Mimic Pro and why? Because are you surprised that it's so popular as it is today?
So I think the Pearl Mimic is awesome. Somebody somewhere needed to make it,
Yeah.
and I'm just surprised that Pearl even made it, because you can see their attitude towards it even right now. Like they kind of abandoned it when they came out with the E-Merge. They should have made a cheaper version of the Mimic for $1,000 and put that module with the E-Merge. But they didn't go that direction because they had a partnership with Korg to use their technology. Anyway, I think the Mimic was a great idea, and a lot of people use it and love it. The only problem is that it's expensive, but it's one of those things where the best sound module in the world, as far as pure sound goes, is going to be expensive. So it's like the Roland question. I think personally, it is the best sounding module there is because it has samples from Steven Slate drums.
Yes.
And the only problem with it is the curse of all drum modules. They never sound good out of the box. The Pearl Mimic is one of those modules that doesn't sound up to its potential when you just unbox it and plug it into your drum set. The sound patches, maybe they're awesome for the people that created them. It sort of fits their style, but they're not big and punchy and just hit you in the face. What drummers, at least my ideal drummer, would want to have their drum set sound like. But if you spend a week with a Pearl Mimic and start layering sounds and all of the different EQ options and compression options, you can really pull some amazing stuff out of it. And the interface is touch, which I realize some people didn't like in principle, but in real life, it works. Like we can theorize about what if I'm wearing gloves? It doesn't really matter. In real life, it just works.
Exactly.
And that has allowed them to fix the interface. The thing that Roland has going for them is, as far as interfaces go, is that they've been able to iterate since the 90s and get something that just works. The buttons are where they need to be. They have all these different functions. Pearl isn't as good at that because they just haven't had the practice. But they made lightning updates and just added buttons and took them away because it's all touchscreen, and they rerouted menus and stuff. And that allowed them to make the experience better from the year 1 to year 3 or whatever, how long it's been since it first came out.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of touchscreen. It's cheaper to produce anyway in the long run.
Is it?
I didn't know that. It's the same for car companies. Like they're all switching now to complete touchscreen right now, which is sometimes, like we in Germany, we are addicted to cars, as you can imagine, and it's like I drive a BMW, and I still have like this. I like this feeling of having some knobs under my fingers, that I can just like turn for volume. But when you look like in the new Audis or something, or I mean Tesla, it's just everything, like even the climate control is like touch, which is kind of like distracting when you drive. So maybe a mixture of both would be great. But speaking about the Pearl Mimic, it's like, I fully agree.
Gabe is trying that combination with a few knobs while still having the touch screen.
Yeah. I think like what I hope is like, due to the success of the Pearl Mimic and like the people start to really like saying like, okay, this is what we wanted, like finally on the market, that other companies will start, okay, let's do kind of like a smaller version of that, like with other samples, like maybe for 1500, for 1200, for 1700. And this is what usually happens. Like the best stuff with Apple, the same way, like they release like the best technology always in their high-end products, and then after 1-2 years it gets kind of like available for everyone. That's usually how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, the high margin products pay for the cheaper stuff that then can be mass market.
Exactly.
At least that's my understanding of how it works.
Exactly. So talking about, I mean, we have to talk about this on my channel about drum samples. We just touched the topic. I know you pulled the trigger on Superior Drummer, I think 1 or 2 years ago.
Yeah, I've had it a long time. I love it.
So what's your? I mean, it's like this is like exactly the same with some of the stuff you just touched it on the Permeable Pro. Superior Drummer is really something that when people ask me, should I go buy Superior Drummer, the only question or the only answer I always get is like, it depends. By the way, yeah. I just feel like it depends is kind of like maybe like a default answer to 90% of the questions you got, but it's really like the truth, because it depends really like, what do you want to achieve with that? Superior Drummer is not made for electronic drummers, period. I wanted to make a video about this, but this is the truth. Superior Drummer is a software for producers and big audio studios that use that for production. It's not like a plug and play solution. Go for Easy Drummer, go for Steven Slate ones maybe. So, but it's the same. Like the moment you unleash the potential of Superior Drummer, it gets amazing sounding. I know you know a lot about EQ and compression, all that stuff as well. So I'm pretty sure you get the results you want.
You're much more knowledgeable about it than me, but the presets get you a really long way, and then you can tweak it from there.
Yeah, exactly.
So they do a lot of the hard work for you.
So how do you use drum sample software in general? Do you use it for practice? Do you use it for gigging, for live? So what's your experience on that?
Okay, so my relationship with drum software in general has been kind of up and down, because at first I bought it because I heard everyone yelling about it back in 2013. And I know it was even more popular a few years before that, but I'd heard a lot about it. So I first purchased Easy Drummer 2, maybe around 2015 or something. Mm-hmm. And it sounded really good, especially that Yamaha 9000 drum set preset. Yeah. It sounded so good. And it's already mixed out of the box. So it sounds even better than it would have if it was just raw samples. So I was really liking that. But one of the downsides is that it's only got a couple of hi-hat presets. Mm-hmm. And so like the hi-hat you couldn't really adjust much. You had to force your module to work good with the software and not vice versa, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And also there was only so many sounds inside of it. And so I took the plunge and bought Superior Drummer 2. Mm-hmm. And that was a pretty good software, but it was kind of dated by the time I bought it. It had already been pretty long in its life cycle. I was enjoying it, but the interface wasn't my favorite and stuff like that. And then Superior Drummer 3 came out and they did a cross-grade thing. I think I got it for like $100 or $150, Superior Drummer 3. So I saved money that way. And I think Superior Drummer 3, even though it's not designed for electronic drummers, I'm pretty sure they've done more than any other company. TuneTrack, they've done more than anybody to try to at least make it possible for you to integrate it as smoothly as they can on their end. They made presets for modules that a lot of drummers haven't even heard of inside of Superior Drummer 3. I don't know of any other drum software that has sliders for adjusting different zones of open and close. There's usually just like open 1, open 2, like a couple of presets to click on. So they've done a lot. And Superior Drummer 3 is very powerful, and they have a lot of sounds inside of it. I've never felt the need to go purchase extra sample libraries, like add-ons. TuneTrack, full disclosure, did give me a bunch, but even before they gave me some for review, I never felt the need to get any more because they just have so many sounds, and I don't need every sound under the sun. I don't really need everything. But what I like is that they've done a lot of presets, which is doing some very sophisticated like compression and EQ stuff that I'm looking at all the chaining and stuff they've done, and I'm like, man, I don't even know what's going on, but it sounds good. Yeah, exactly. And then I can make little adjustments. I want the top mic on the snare to be a little louder, or this or that, or I want to swap this out to a China cymbal and I want the EQ to be a little more in your face, that type of a thing. I just really like it. The big shift for me was getting a dedicated computer next to the drum set. For me, I practice kind of whenever the mood strikes me. And whenever I feel like drumming, I just want to drum for a little bit and then go do other things. and having to go get a computer from another part of the house and then hook it up, and somehow the drum module doesn't recognize that anything's plugged in, and then you have all these issues. Then I got to plug in an interface. Having a dedicated computer solved a lot of the problems, and now I just practice with mostly sounds from Superior Drummer 3 for the moment.
Okay.
And another big hurdle was that I used to use Superior Drummer 3 on a Windows machine, and that was okay, but it was always kind of a force it to work experience for me. And I could never have Spotify or YouTube or iTunes running in the background to actually play the songs, because on Windows, it's hard to get two programs working at the same time if you want low latency.
For whatever reason, exactly.
So I would have had to buy a mixer dedicated just to plug in my laptop and then my cell phone to run the music. So I just sort of just did VST stuff when I was doing legitimate recordings and I wanted something high quality, but never on the day-to-day. But I got a Mac and it can run YouTube in the background just fine, and I don't really have many latency problems. So I've switched to playing mostly with VST sounds. I'm still learning how to use it because I have never really jumped into it enough to be completely comfortable. But I know my way around it because I've done recordings, and that's what I'm working with right now.
That's amazing. I mean, it's like I mean, I always, I'm sorry. I always used Superior Drummer and Easy Drummer. What I did though is just like to reduce this stuff, and I learned this from one guy from Toontrack, the guy Norman who sampled the core library of Superior Drummer, like the actual drummer who sampled that. He's actually playing a lot of the MIDI packs they offer, like for all the non-drummers who want to have like the MIDI. So, and I remember on Skype, I asked him like, just tell me how you do, like, do you go to a studio? And he was like, I'm in my home, in my living room, and I play an electronic drum set. And I said, what do you play? And he was like, and I think now he get a better one, but he used to play the stuff on the TD-810. Can you imagine that? Like, wow. It was like, how do you do that? And it clearly showed to me, I mean, he's a studied drummer, you know, it's like, yes, that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which module you use. Like a very professional drummer can and will sound awesome on a TD-10, you know. And I think this is like,
it's amazing. They just tell him, hey, Norman, go play some jazz stuff. We need some MIDI packs.
Exactly. And
now
he just like
some rock beats.
TD-10 and just like, yeah, let's do it. Of course, I'm pretty sure he's gonna adjust the stuff afterwards, but it's really, and when you know Drum Angle, like the guy Luke Oswald, who's doing like the videos for, I mean, when you look at his channel, like how amazing it sounds when you are really, I mean, you are a great drummer as well, but when you're really like a professional drummer, like being able to hit all that subtle notes, it's amazing what you can take out of just a module already. And then using Superior Drummer, the options are endless almost.
That last sound pack they released, what was that called? The Rooms of something?
Rooms of Hansa?
Yeah. I was watching some of the Drum Angle videos where he was showing off different presets inside of that. He has incredible camera work and also a very good drummer as well.
Yeah, amazing. It's just like for me, I always like refer to his videos because I know him for some years now, and he inspired me to run my channel actually.
Oh, really?
It's like, oh yeah, he did, and that's sometimes we write occasionally on Facebook and Skype, and I always refer to his videos when people like complain about electronic drums are shit and they never are the real deal and they will always never sound like acoustic drums. And I sometimes send them like videos like he's doing, and it's like, close your eyes and just like listen to what he's doing and maybe even look at it. I mean, it's like he has the Jobikity cymbals going on, you know, and the Jobikity drum set, and it's like the difference when you ask a non-drummer, nobody could tell anymore.
Yeah, well, it's the whole, like, no one ever complains about keyboards. Like, I don't understand why people hate electronic drums so much, but maybe it's because the average keyboard is better than the average cheap electronic drum set. It's easier to get close to the feel of a grand piano on a $500 keyboard than it is to get to the feel of an acoustic drum set and a $500 electronic drum set. That's the only thing I can go off of right now.
I talked about this topic quite often with people. Why is that? I know acoustic drums as well, of course, but honestly, what I think, this is really like a typical testosterone-driven male thing. You know, it has to do with something, this wild force that you hit a metal cymbal with a wooden stick, you know. It's like the and like
Yeah.
the power you feel and the shaking of your hand and your muscles and the pure
The
loudness you
give,
create.
the give of the
Exactly.
cymbal too.
So just like the you feel the power that you create sitting on an acoustic drum set, you know. And of course you lose quite a bit of that feeling when you play electronically, to be honest. You
Right.
know, it's different when
Yeah.
you hit a rim shot on an acoustic snare drum, a metal snare drum, for instance, you know, and you're smashing those crash cymbals. It's like it's a different feel for you as a musician
Yeah,
as well.
definitely. Sometimes I've found the throne shaker sort of things help a little bit
Yeah, they
because
do.
it brings the power back. I was trying out Porter and Davis. They have them built into the thrones themselves, but also there's the cheaper ones like the Pearl Throne Thumper and stuff
Yeah,
like that
yeah,
you can buy as well. But it'll never be exactly the same, and I'm okay with that. Keyboards aren't the same as a grand piano from Steinway,
sure.
but I feel like, you know what, you can use them for what they're best at, and that's the way I approach it. I'm never going to change anyone's mind about this sort of thing, but I just find it interesting to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's come to an end, Justin. First of all, thanks for your time so far. Like the final question would be, let's say if money was no issue at all and you just could like choose whatever stuff you want to get for your electronic, like your dream setup, how would that look like?
That's really hard because I've tried a lot of things, and I would probably end up spending the money on stuff I just haven't tried yet.
So,
Like I've never been to the Drum Tech store, so I've never played any of their drum sets. I love their real feel drum heads. Those are my favorite in the entire industry at the moment
yeah,
because of the rebound level, and it makes your hands less lazy, you know. Um, I'm sort of swaying back and forth on the cymbal side of things because I really like the ATV ones.
hmm,
They're the best rubber cymbals, except for maybe the digital ride cymbal from Roland and then the CY13 or the VH13
yeah,
hi-hats. Those the only two things they have up on ATV. But also low volume triggered cymbals. I recently tried out a Jobecki crash cymbal,
hmm,
and what I liked about it, what it captured back from the acoustic side of things for me, was the flex
yes,
when you crash into it, and you lose that on rubber cymbals.
hmm,
It just becomes a block. And then even on metal cymbals like field hi-hats, I've tried those, and probably even the Jobecki solid metal ones, they lose the flex because it's usually two cymbals glued on top of each other.
yeah.
I know I'm probably rambling here, but I would probably just start experimenting on things I haven't tried yet because I'm a gear junkie and I just like trying new things.
Cool. So, I mean, it's like it's a fair and diplomatic answer, I would say. I probably just go to Drum Tech Germany because they are just around the corner and like say like,
That's the safest answer there
here's
is.
my here's my money. Just like give me the best you can get.
The S series. I would love to try that series out.
Yeah, they haven't. I mean, they ship to the US, don't they? But they
I
have no.
believe so.
But they don't have a store, unfortunately. So, anyways, Justin, thanks ever so much for your time. That was a blast talking to you. So I don't know if we're gonna upload this stuff right now. Today, for all you viewers, we have Saturday evening in Germany, so I think probably on this weekend. Thanks ever
All
so
right.
much for your time, Justin. Really appreciate that. For all you guys, I will link, of course, his channel down in the description box below. Link to his Facebook page as well. You highly check this out because if you have questions, the community of Justin and all his followers and subscribers are amazing. They help each other out, and I'm part of it as well. So I will link everything down in the description. Justin, thanks again for your time, and talk to you. Bye.
Thank you so much. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.